Hi and welcome to my office. Today we're having a look at my new toy, the XF400. Is this a professional camera or is it a consumer camera? Or is it in between? The answers to those questions are coming up in a few seconds. But first I thought we'd talk about why I'd even consider buying such a small, tiny, unprofessional looking camcorder. I've got a little bit of waffle to get through first, so bear with me. It's all related to this camera, why I bought it for. Alright, so 9 years ago I came across a small carnivorous marsupial that absolutely captivated me. I just fell in love with it and I wanted to document its life and make a documentary on it, on this reserve and on it as well. Now I first started off, all I had was the 5D Mark II. I had to put up with that for 3 years. Finally I bought the XF400. Beautiful camera, but it couldn't take me into the future. It didn't have exactly what I needed. The face detection on it's really good, but it hunts in the background. So I can't use it to film myself speaking to the camera about doing this documentary. So I had to buy another camera. I bought the UX180. Even though I studied it really well, I thought that camera would take me into the future. Be able to film wildlife for now, but also be able to film me speaking to the camera for the documentary. It didn't have high dynamic range mode. It blew out so easy. My skin just looks horrible. I'm using the 7D Mark II right now, and I don't look very good with any of the cameras that I have. So I need the camera to give me high dynamic range mode and great focusing so that I could continue making the documentary. So I needed a camera that would help me out for now, fill a gap before I buy a camera that'll be my be-all and end-all camera. I've overlooked this camera so many times when it first came on the market because to me, from the specs and everything, it's a consumer camera. This really is a replacement for the XF200. Instead of calling it 250, they jumped over the XF300 and called it a 400. But really, that's what it is. It's a replacement for the XF200. I gave it another look because I ran into a guy that was using one. He's a professional in making little food documentaries and all sorts of things. And he actually loved the camera. Yes, that Kodak, the one that put me off in the first place, more than anything about the camera, performed fairly well, he said. MPEG-4. There's a little review on this on YouTube from Pro TV. They liked it as well. I thought I'd give it another go because it has great autofocus. It doesn't hunt in the background and it has really good high dynamic range mode. So my skin will look good with it. It's only filling that gap. Probably end up buying the XF705 now that's come on the market. Not in Australia yet and there's no reviews on it, so who knows what it's like. With a price tag of nearly 11,000, it better be bloody good. But it's a possibility for me. But I have to fill this gap. So they're the two things that I bought this camera for. But now I have a camera that'll let me interact with my environment. Speak to the camera, interact with my environment, move around without worrying about face detection losing me or hunting in the background. We'll quickly run over a few things on the camera, like the lens. Now we get a little bit of chromic aberration, but it's very minute, very hard to detect, but I found it, it's there. Alright, so the functionality of this camera, well, it's not fun. It's not a fun camera to use. It's okay. It's like using a DSLR. It is so DSLR-like in every aspect of its functionality. Now, it doesn't have ISO or anything like that, but the rest of it's just so much like using a DSLR. The touchscreen, pretty good. It's scroll and tap. Your X180 was all about tap, and I quite like that camera. This is scroll. It's taken me a little while to get used to, but I am getting there. But yeah, it's a responsive screen and it works pretty well. Screen itself, 3.5-inch screen, hard to see. Bright light, it's okay, I can see it. It's better than the UX180. OLED at the back, friggin' tiny, and I'm struggling a lot. It's not easy to use, and I'll talk about that later on as well. So really, camera as a camera experience, it isn't fun. It's not horrible. What about face detection? How good or bad is this camera at it? Actually, it's pretty good. It sticks to you like chewing gum under a table. It's awesome. Yeah, so it's pretty good. Didn't mean to scare you, but our focusing system's pretty goddamn scary. It's so good, but it does drop off. Let's have a look. How far? So I'm 3 meters, 4 meters, 5 meters. Does it stay on me or not? Yeah, so it has its limitations. But overall, it's a bloody good focusing system. I'm not getting that hunting effect in the background. Awesome. Loving it. It's going to serve me well. And when I'm filming wildlife, I very rarely use autofocus. They're just not good enough. They don't understand what you want. And that is a conversation we could go on for hours talking about why. But it just doesn't understand what you want. There's just too many distractions. But with this camera, I'm actually relying on it to help me out in a lot of situations now where I'd never be able to even do in the past with my other cameras. And that comes down to the fact that manual focusing, the tools in here just aren't good enough, and there's also the lack of tools as well. I rely on the zoom tool a lot with my other cameras, and they've been really good. You can zoom right in on your subject, get your focus, and then come back out. Now I'm not talking about zooming in with the lens. This is actually a separate tool to help you out. Now, I've never had to rely on peaking to help me out, focus peaking, in combination with a zoom tool. It's just been unnecessary. But with this camera, you get a 2x zoom. That is it. You can't adjust it. You can't zoom in on your subject to help you out. This is creating a huge problem, a big problem. I have no idea whether I've got critical focus or not. So I've combined it with focus peaking. The focus peaking is weak. You get what you're given with this. You can't adjust the brightness or make it darker with the focus peaking. You can't enlarge them. Like that's what I could do on my other cameras. Very helpful, extremely helpful. But I'll have to go for the zoom tool plus the peaking to hopefully get focus. I just can't tell whether I've got it or not. The OLED screen at the back here, it's too small. I thought it'd be quite big when you're looking inside, but it's not. It's no different really than looking at our LED screen. 3.5-inch monitor, far too small for me. I need reading glasses these days, so I'm struggling like mad to get any focusing on this in manual mode. Well, understanding whether I've actually got it or not. It's just frustrating. So autofocus, it's come to the rescue and it's helped me out in a lot of areas, but it can't do everything for me. Let's have a look at high dynamic range mode. The sun is starting to pop out behind the clouds. Now normally I'm blown out, my skin is blown out, especially on my forehead and on the sides of my arms. So I'm looking pretty good at the minute. It just a beautiful image. Now, because it's such a flat profile, we have to bring it into post and up the saturation, contrast, and add a bit of sharpening, and it's a pretty good image. Look at that. I am in full sunlight and it's doing the job. I'm not blown out. Awesome. I'm in a standard picture style, full sunlight, and this is how I normally look with every other camera I've owned. Blown out highlights on my skin. Forehead's like a mirror. It just shines it right back at you. Yeah, these sort of conditions, it's unusable. So finally, I have a camera that will give me high dynamic range mode and keep my skin intact. Behind me, I am backlit. So, do I look alright? Am I exposed properly? Actually, I don't know why I asked you whether I looked alright. I've never looked alright. Let's keep the camera in high dynamic range mode and purposely blow out the highlights. Now, these flowers are so reflective. Can we bring back any detail? Well, yes, we can. We can push this 8-bit file quite a bit. I've brought back some detail in the flowers. The highlights, I've managed to bring them down a lot. So you can work a fair way with this in post. Now, is there any difference between Ultra HD and Full HD in quality? Well, you know what? I can't tell the difference. Here's a couple of images, the first being in Full HD, the next being in Ultra HD, both in the same place, same light. Let's have a look at them side by side. Can you tell the difference? I know YouTube's a bit hard, but I cannot tell the difference. I have pixel peeped till I'm blue in the face, and I have done so many tests. I cannot tell the difference between the two. There's something on this camera I absolutely love, and it should have been on DSLRs, camcorders and cinema cameras years ago. I've been whinging about this particular thing missing off cameras for years. What am I talking about? Well, it's to do with wireless controlling. Not the remote control itself, but where the sensor on the camera is placed. It's always made sense to me that you would put it on the monitor, or at least have an extra sensor at the back. Wildlife, it is essential to have wireless from the back. Finally, someone's put it on the monitor so that we can do it from the front, the back, the side, man, from underneath, on top. So versatile, endless possibilities now that I have a sensor finally on a monitor. Last night I put this camera on top of a nesting box that I've made so that I could film my passion, the agile antechinus. At the minute some foreigners have come in and taken over the nest, and that's the sugar gliders. So I went out to film them using this remote. Made it so much easier. It was fantastic and amazing. Now, because this camera is so small, the buttons are small, but they're also recessed. Working in the dark, trying to feel where they are, almost impossible. It's too hard, especially with my big fingers. Also, strap this in so it doesn't fall off and I'll smash on the ground, because I'm 3 meters up. So the hockey strap hides a few of the buttons anyway. Also, touching the camera, you move it, you go to turn the camera on. Now, sometimes I use pre-record. So if I unbutton to record, the camera always moves, and you have to muck around in post to try and get rid of it. So now I don't touch the camera at all. It also helps me to relax. I'm not holding the button, waiting for the animal to move. I can see something's happening, it's got to wait. 20 minutes, 10 minutes, you know. It can be ridiculous sometimes, the anticipation. Now, I simply just go bang. It also means that if I'm filming animals, I've got them coming in onto a log or something, a lot of times reaching out to the camera to turn it on scares my subject. Now, that will be a thing of the past. Now, having such a short zoom range on this camera, I didn't think would be much of a problem, but it's starting to be a bit of a pain. Getting my subject to frame the way I want, being a lot closer, making it a bit hard. But because we have wireless control, I can now place my camera up close and me further back. I'm 2 meters away from the camera, and the camera is just under 3 meters away from my subject, which is a bird nesting New Holland honeyeater. And because I'm so far away, they're relaxed and they're not worried about me. She's sitting on the nest at the minute watching me. But man, having the sensor on the monitor, it just changes the game for this tiny little camera. I can't live without this now. It's beautiful. So how good is the slow motion on this camera? Alright, so we're going to set the camera into full HD so that we can use 100 frames per second. So the image is a little soft, but thank goodness it's not milky looking, there's no artifacts in the background. So it's a usable image. Let's have a look at that same shot in post. Sharpening added, bit of contrast, bit of saturation. It's a reasonable looking image. It's still a little soft, but at least being able to work in post has brought it back. Well, what better way to finish up this review than with a selfie? Now this camera will give me what I hoped it would give me, and that is a decent image with good face detection and reasonable high dynamic range so that I can speak to the camera doing my documentary. That's pretty well much what I bought it for. If it can give me reasonable images for wildlife, that is a bonus, that's for sure. Now the image in general is okay. It's MPEG 4, we can't expect a hell of a lot. So it's not a wow image, it's a decent solid image that's going to help me achieve that goal of making a documentary, that's for sure. We don't get a lot of tools in this camera for exposure or anything else to do with filming. We don't get a waveform monitor, and the list just goes on and on and on. And what tools are there are very limited to what you can do with them. We get reasonable infrared. The UX180 was a hell of a lot better, but this is okay. Our audio on this is very decent indeed, that's for sure. God, this camera, it only weighs a kilo, but it's killing my arm. So I have to use 2 hands. So audio is really good. There is a slight bit of static noise, but it's very low. It's a lot better than the XF400, and it's a hell of a lot better than the UX180. I've done some testing, of course, in a very quiet room with the onboard microphone and an external microphone. When you apply gain to this camera, It looks fantastic. It's set for the higher you go with the game, the softer the image looks. But that's to do with the software in the camera to cut down on the noise. So it looks quite clean from noise, going right up to 24 gain, but of course you pay a price, and that's a little bit of softening, and that's the same with infrared, and that's why I'm not really impressed with infrared. It's okay. Alright, so that's pretty well much it. My arm is absolutely killing me. This is a decent consumer camera with some professional bits and pieces on it. There's no doubt about it. Lack of functionality, but they've given you some professional bits. Alright, I'm waffling. If you'd like to subscribe, click on the subscription button down below and you'll get notification whenever I do anything else. And if you'd like to go and have a look at my channel, click on the icon down below and you'll get I'm lost. This camera's so heavy. Yeah, go to my channel, go and have a look at all the 70 odd videos that I've done. There must be something there of interest to you, talking about camera stuff, teaching a bit of photography, birds in flight, flash photography, talking about camera accessories and all sorts of things. Go and have a browse. Must be something there of interest to you. I'm sure there will be. Now just remember, if you don't do, you don't get. So get out there and start photographing and filming wildlife. Now don't go away. I've got some best of, some footage I've taken with this camera. Some of the ones that I think are really good.